I'm Mom,
And I'm Monty.
and we are from Mom and Monty, which is a mother daughter podcast series where we're going to be discussing everything involving teen life and even raising a teenager in this day and age. And so, when you're ready, go ahead, grab your snacks and your beverages, get comfortable because we're going to go ahead and start that conversation now. So, we're going to start this conversation about high school. It's a new school year, as everybody knows. It's the beginning of a new school year. We're about 4 to 5 weeks in already, but it's still fairly
We're
new.
5 weeks in.
We're 5 weeks in. Thank you, Monty. So we're 5 weeks in, and um, yeah, it's new for all of us. Having gone to high school before, it's definitely a different experience now that I have a child who's a high schooler. And so, Monty, I just want to ask you, what is it that you are discovering about high school so far that maybe you didn't know or you weren't prepared for, or what are your thoughts about it so far?
Well, it's my first year of high school, so I'm a freshman now. And I thought that there was going to be more fun stuff, like parties and stuff. But that stuff doesn't usually start until sophomore year, because that's when everybody's like older and you're not like fresh out of middle school. And so you do the fun stuff then. And also, boys are weird.
Okay, I'm just speechless, y'all, because she mentioned parties and boys, and this is completely new for me because I've always had a daughter that, like, we are best friends, literally. And so her mentioning boys and parties, it just seems like I have lost my daughter. I mean, how many of you guys can relate? It's kind of like she became a high schooler, and now she feels like parties and boys are the cool thing. And I'm just
They've
trying to figure
always
out
been
where
the
that
cool
where that
thing.
came from.
Because I've always wanted to go to a high school party. Because I've always, like, been like, oh, wait, that sounds cool. Hanging out with your friends, not during school, and it's not even a play day either. It's not a play day, and you're not hanging out during school. And it's like, oh, wow, we're so mature. We're having a party, and we decorated and stuff.
Oh my lord. Okay, so
That's
so
what you
yeah,
do.
play dates and parties and all this stuff. Yeah, that's just I know. I'm right there with y'all. So anyway, Monty, tell us about your first day of school and um, how did it go? How did you like it? What didn't you like about it? Give the people some insight.
Um, well, I went to all my classes and I walked around and I was expecting it to look different. Like all the schools back in where we used to live, they were all cool. They were all big and they had stairs and stuff. And this one doesn't. This one looks like a middle school, but just like a jumbo middle school.
So I'm gonna take you guys back a little bit and let you guys know. So we are in Texas now. We used to live in Illinois, and so a lot of the schools back in Illinois were bigger than what she's been seeing here in Texas. Even though we always thought everything is bigger in Texas because that's what we've always heard.
Exactly.
But we're discovering that may not be actually the case. Um, Even though we do see a lot of big high schools and a lot of big schools, it's just we're discovering some things are different than what we thought. And so that's what she's talking about there. So I'm sorry about interrupting. So go ahead, continue, Monty, about your first day.
But like, I like school. I like being back in school because it's cool. Like, summer was long and I wanted to meet new people now that we live in this new place, this Texas place. And I was like, oh yeah, the people here are going, yeah. But huh, all my teachers were nice, and the school looks cool. Like, there's a whole auditorium. That's what I've been looking forward to the most because I'm in theater, and that's where you do the shows. Like, all the elementary schools will have their choir concerts there, and people would do their plays there. And so I've always been like, oh, I want to have my own auditorium that's at my school that I get to see every day. So the auditorium's cool, and yeah, and during freshman the
Orientation
assembly,
or something?
yeah,
Oh,
orientation, the girl that I sat next to, she reminded me of back in sixth grade when we had sixth grade orientation, because what we were talking about was how everybody could have died by falling off the top of the balcony. And that's the type of stuff my friends and I used to talk about. So it felt cool.
okay. So going forward, I don't want it to get too morbid, y'all, because y'all know sometimes these teenagers can take you there. So going forward, um, what happened on your first day of school? Like, how were your classes? Did you get a locker? What are some things you experienced?
I didn't get a locker. They don't do lockers. They do lockers. They have a bunch of lockers, but you've got to go to the office and like ask for a locker, or you could just carry your backpack everywhere. But most people don't feel like going and talking to people in the office, so we just carry our backpacks everywhere. And it's not that bad because we don't have that much stuff. Because in high school, you don't really need that much stuff except for your notebooks and your pencils, and that's really all you need. And we had like index cards and markers and stuff. That's what we needed in there in some of those classes. And I talked to people. They were nice to me. And
So was it scary? Was it scary starting a new year and starting in a new school? I definitely know it probably was scary starting in a new school, but was it scary going into high school?
no, because it just felt like middle school,
Okay.
but it just felt like I'm in sixth grade again. I went from being an eighth grader and the oldest to just being a freshman now, and then I'm gonna go to being a senior. Then I'll be the oldest again, and then I'm gonna go in the real world where people do things like apartments and roommates and stuff.
Interesting. So going to high school, it just basically felt like you were starting over again, but it wasn't a scary feeling for you.
Mhm.
Do you think it would be scary for most teenagers?
Probably. Like, if you've been homeschooled all your life, or if you don't have that many friends, or if you just moved, then it'd probably be scary. But, like, I was just, like, not scared. Because I liked the place, how it looked, and I liked walking around everywhere.
So, do you think that being into theater, I have a theater kid as well, you guys. Do you think being into theater was something that helped you with those fears that initially probably would have been there?
Yeah, like performing in front of people, random people's parents and your friends, like that helps you with like not being scared because you're up there doing something. And yeah, but I guess it's different because you're acting as someone that's not you. So, yeah.
So, what classes do you have this year?
I have I have Spanish, theater, lead worthy, and then I have math, biology, and honors English and world geography.
Woo, that sounds like it is a packed schedule. Um, so, what are some of your favorite classes, or what is your favorite class, and why do you think that is?
My favorite class is lead worthy because we we play games that help you to like learn how to do a firmer handshake or make eye contact and learn about people like by knowing the type of stuff they like. Those some of the games, like the game that I brought in, the Empires game. It's like you choose a person or a thing, like a food that you like, and like so the person guessing who you are would be like, well, this sounds like you, or this sounds like something you would like, and you like learn how people perceive you and how other people like what they like and stuff. Unless they try to troll you, which is what some of the guys were trying to do. Like some guy chose like a frog, and like no.
That sounds like a really cool class. So, it's pretty much preparing you to deal with people and to work with others.
Mhm.
That's really interesting. When I was in high school, we didn't have classes like that. That would have been cool to have when I was your age. So that's really interesting and a nice thing to know that that's the direction that some of these schools are going in. They're trying to do more classes that actually prepare you for life outside of school.
Yeah, kids still complain that we don't learn the type of stuff that we need to learn because we still don't learn as much as we should be learning about at the actual world. But like they're doing a lot more stuff now that helps you. Like they did those how do you learn like tactile or auditory or visual, and they have if you need if you learn better auditorially, then you can have tests read to you and you can do oral tests and stuff so that you don't get a bad grade just because you couldn't understand it as well because you were looking at pictures and reading instead of it being read to you so that you could visualize it in your own way, in your own mind. And yeah.
That's really cool. And I think that's really needed in these schools and in education nowadays. So that's really awesome to know. Um, so my experience starting school was a little bit different than Monty's because when I started high school, um, I lived in the urban area. I lived in the hood, and so Monty hasn't really experienced that much during her school years. And so it's definitely a lot different of an experience. When I was going to school, we were in Chicago and we I went to Michelle Clark Middle School for eighth grade. And so Coming from there, I didn't know where I was going to go to high school. I actually decided to go to different high schools to audition and to take tests to try and get into better schools, like in the North Chicago area and in different areas of Chicago where they had better schooling, in my opinion, and in my family's opinion. And so I went auditioning and doing like for piano to get into the band program at a high school in North Chicago, and then also took some tests at other schools. And then I ended up deciding to go with my friends because I didn't like to really be alone. And so that was probably the fear in me talking back at that time. I probably should have taken the road less traveled, if you will, and just really stood out. Like God made us to stand out, and we're not supposed to be a part of the crowd. And so He made us unique, and He made us different for a reason. And so I didn't like being different. I didn't like being smart, and so I wanted to fit in. And I already knew that there were other people that I knew, other friends of mine who were going to this particular school. So I ended up going to the school. It wasn't really something that met my educational needs, but it met my social needs. And so I still was nervous about going to high school because I had heard all the stories about them throwing pennies at freshmen and different things like that. And you kind of being at the bottom of the totem pole, if you will. And so that was something that scared me. It made me nervous to even start school. And then I was going to be there by myself. I had been so used to being with my brother, my younger brother, that it was going to be a different experience for me to go to school by myself. And so that was something I wasn't really looking forward to either. But my first day of school happened to be of high school anyway, happened to be a really good day. We didn't get pennies thrown at us. We actually, I knew more people there than I thought I was gonna know, and it was because of the school that I went to. And so my experience, like I said, was a lot different. I saw a lot more and saw a lot, and then educationally, even our classes weren't really there weren't any advanced classes. And so educationally it was just kind of like it was being back in middle school. You weren't really learning anything more than what I learned at Michelle Clark at that time. And so it was definitely very different. And I probably would, if I could go back now, I probably would have taken a different route, and I probably would have focused more on academics. But you live and you learn. And so that was my experience, and it was definitely much different than Monty's.
Yeah. So, yeah.
So, Imani, in these last 5 weeks that you've been in school, what is one thing that you think that teenagers need to know about starting high school, or maybe if they're scared of going? What's one piece of advice or one thing that you think that you've learned that you would tell somebody else?
Uh,
And it can be more
I'm
than
not
one thing.
good at advice though. Okay. Um, about high school and talking to people. I'm not good at this though. I don't socialize or anything. Well, I talk to the kids in my class. It's good to talk to the kids in your class because and not like well, I don't want to eliminate you talking to people that aren't in your classes, but it's a lot easier to make friends with people that are in your classes. So, like, at my school, they sort of had it where most of the kids that you have your classes with, you have in most, like, your whole day, so that, like, you can see each other all the time and then make friends a bit easier that way. So I think you should try talking to the kids in your classes. Like, I don't like it when they say, "Oh, hey, get in a group of 3 or 4 people," because I'm just like, I don't know anybody. But like, if they do that, then it's good to just be like, "Hey, this is our group. This is what we're doing. You know, let's try to make the most of this group and stuff." So when I'm in my groups that I get either assigned or like just some random kid comes up to me and like, "Oh, you want to be in my group?" And I'm just like, "Yeah." Then you just, I just like, you, I try to be helpful and just nice, and then if we end up like having to choose groups again, I'll probably go with that person because I'm just like, "Hey, we've worked together before and we worked together like well, we got our job done and we got a good grade. So let's work together again." Or like, "Let's talk in the hallway." Or let's go talk, sit by each other at lunch if we have the same lunch period, so that you can make that friend, because it's not all about them trying to be your friend. If you want someone to be your friend, you gotta learn how to just go and talk to them and try to make the connection on your own instead of waiting for them to do it for you, because you're nervous, because that's what I used to always do. I make good friends, but we're older now and people aren't just going to come up and talk to you if they don't have to, because they have their own friends. So they're just going to be like, "Yeah, so I'm just going to go talk to them." And then that way we can make friendship.
That's a good piece of advice about making friends. And that probably will be on one of our upcoming episodes, so you don't want to miss it.
Yeah.
One piece of advice I probably have for the parents out there who are parenting a teenager, or parenting even a preteen, really try and listen to your kids. They're not like we are. Their experiences are definitely different than our experiences. There may be some similarities, but there are a lot of differences in this world than when we were growing up. And so just really be attentive to your kids. Even understand their love language, understand how they receive love, because these are tough years. These are identity phase years where they're trying to discover who they are. And so, really, just understand that about your kids. Talk to them as much as possible, as much as they'll let you in, be there. When they're willing to talk, be there to listen. And so that would be the piece of advice I would have raising teenagers or any child, any age child. Because as they get older, a lot of people think they need us less, but really they need us more. And so just be willing to listen and hear them out, understand why they like what they like, why they don't like what they don't like, and be a little bit slower to voicing your opinions about who they should be, because I am a firm believer that God is going to correct their course as he needs to. And so you just be there to love on them and to show them that you're there for them and be that listening ear when they need you to be. And I think that everything will work out the way that God wants it to. And so until next time, thank you guys for listening. We appreciate you. We love you guys. And we'll see you again soon.